It doesn't happen very often where I review a vehicle that I essentially know, most people, everyone knows anyway, that although it's all new, it won't be around for very, very long. Now, mind you, this has nothing to do with the product itself. It has to do with its origins. In short, we know that this is a GM-built, Ultium-based, platformed, Honda-badged electric vehicle. And as we know, well, GM and Honda have essentially gone their separate ways since signing the agreement, I think it was about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago at this point, to build this, the all-new 2024 Honda Prologue, and the all-new Acura ZDX. I actually did a comparison review between the ZDX and its semi-twin, the Cadillac Lyriq, a few weeks ago. The video is on the channel, as is the review itself on Motor Illustrated. But in short, well, Honda got the short end of the stick. For the ZDX, they're charging essentially the same money as the Lyriq, which looks like it retails for $15,000 or $20,000 more. That's kind of the same with the Prologue. The Prologue is, as you probably know, also based or shares a lot with, well, both the ZDX, the Lyriq, as well as the Chevrolet Blazer EV, which I reviewed earlier this year as well. It's really, really strange. I mean, Honda has some serious plans for EVs in the next few years, up until 2040. And, well, obviously nowhere near is, the Prologue is nowhere in there. It's essentially a prologue to, right, what's coming from Honda. So I kind of like the name. It's pretty it's smart. Let's just put it that way. It's smart. But then so is the Prologue itself. In fact, like in Canada, well, you never see any Prologues, but there are Blazer EVs everywhere. And I was surprised to find out that in the US, the Prologue is outselling the Blazer EV, which is insane when you think about it. But what that does show is that Honda buyers, Honda fans are absolutely ready to go EV, at least in the US. They are here too as well. I'm convinced of that. And well, this is just basically a first taste. So I'm going to do what I always do, which is dumb, I know, is tell you that the Prologue is a nice EV. If you're thinking about it, go right ahead, but do not buy it. Unless you want to hold on to it and pull it out of the garage or the barn in 35, 40 years ago, from now, I mean, and say, look what the barn find Prologue, which was only sold for probably 3 or 4 years at the most. Anyhow, it's a good EV, and in the following video, as per the usual, well, we'll do a few laps of this relatively big. It's over 5 meters long. The wheelbase is over 3 meters long. It's nuts. But it's not that big at the same time, but it's huge. Anyway, of the 2024 Prologue, and then we're going to go for a quaint drive. So please hang in there. Okay, what I meant to say is lease a new Prologue. Go right ahead. Okay, now, as far as styling is concerned, really, it's surprisingly, subtly very attractive. My price sheet says that this is Snowfall Pearl White, but clearly this is a Pacific Blue. It actually looks pretty damn good, especially with the contrasting gloss black trim all over the place. Very, very attractive. In the US, base price is $47,400. For the two, in fact, it's a single motor, available 2 motors for all versions. And that's the EX. Canada, it starts at $59,990, and we only get it with dual motors because we like all-wheel drive. The EXL is the second trim in Canada, $64,990. In the US, Touring is the mid-trim, $51,700. Again, just single motor. And the top trim is this one in Canada, Touring, for $69,990. And in the US, it's the Elite, $57,900. Base model, well, in Canada, as I said, it's wireless. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, what I meant to say is all-wheel drive is standard. It's got an 11-inch digital display, 11.3-inch touchscreen display, Google built-in, 19-inch wheels, LED lights all over the place. heated seats. The basics are pretty much there. But, oh yeah, and if you get to the L, well, that's leather, sunroof, and all that. But as I noted, this is a Touring, which includes these really nice 21-inch wheels. And they don't seem that big on this, but they just fit the styling so wonderfusly well. It's got a sport drive mode, heads-up display, cooled seats, and a bunch of other things, including a power hatch, which you get with the EXL. I don't know. Final word is that it is really attractive. I want to say that it actually looks better than the Blazer, which is fairly attractive itself, at least as far as I'm concerned. It's almost sad that, you know, it's going to disappear sooner rather than later. There's no point to show you the charge port. We'll just walk into it. Yeah, I'll show that to you after. Okay, so power hatch. So 671 liters of boot space. It's very decent, very usable. It's actually quite wide. And no, there's no frunk in this thing, but you do get a fair amount of storage under here. So that's kind of nice. I won't complain. Good setup, good layout, very functional. What I don't like are these faux intelligent door handles where you actually have to press the button. Call me difficult, I don't care. But yeah, that's that. Loads and loads of space back here. Look at this. This is another highway, and you could fit 3 seats across. There's, I don't know, it's just so much room. It's fantastic. And as with all EVs, or most anyway, flat floor, tons of space. There's one, some of the plastics are, you know, like the gaps, which is not really Honda, so I'll leave that at that. And then there's this. Now, it doesn't sound that bad out here, but anyway, the door sound is not very convincing. But what is, I mean, is the functionality and the layout. You know, again, the plastics are okay. It seems a little bit better in the front than in the rear. Yeah, power lumbar, 10-way power seats. Actually decently comfortable. But where things kind of, you know, $70,000 kind of not fall apart per se, but you know, it's as I said, ZDX Lyric. It's the interior. I'm just gonna start it up. This is bland like you would not believe. The display is 11-inch. It's fine. You know, a bunch of different little ways to configure it. That's not the thing. This I always love. Oh, and before I forget, this is a paddle for the regen braking. I'll tell you more about that once we get on the road. There's 11.3-inch display, so like in the Blazer, you get a 17.7-inch display for the essentially the same money. And however, contrary to the ZDX or the Blazer, this one doesn't crack. So I don't know, maybe it's just a weekday or a day of the week assembly quality thing. But yeah, the menus are very straightforward. They look fine and they're very functional. Looks good. Hard buttons, HVAC, love that. That's good. But then it's like they ran out of ideas when they came down to here. And storage is fine, you know, storage. This is deep, lots of stuff in there. The door bins are good size, but I mean, this is terribly bland. In a Civic, you get something that's so much nicer, so much more premium, high-end looking. This is Spartan. Is that the word? But the point is, it's functional. It just looks kind of cheapish. And visibility is actually not that bad, despite, look at the size of the base of the A-pillar. But, you know, the screen is well below the base of the windshield heads-up display. I don't think you can see it. Maybe. Yeah, there is. But thanks to the opening here, you can see quite well. But still, this is massive. Anyhow, that's about it. Now it's time to go for a drive. I've just been driving around a little bit more before starting this portion of the video, because it's funny how sometimes, you know, not that much is actually more. I know we usually say when less is more, but in this case, and the first thing, if you're shopping for EVs, a lot of automakers are boasting power and numbers like that. And I don't know. See, this is your mild-mannered family EV, though still insanely expensive. But the point what I'm trying to say is that with 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque, available at all times from a dual motor setup, it's so much more than enough when, you know, properly used. And if you do get a touring, get a sport mode, which is effectively is useless, which I kind of like too. The fact that Honda says you don't need all these drive modes, it's kind of pointless. Most people don't use them anyway. And look, the torque is very nice. It's, as you can expect, instantaneous, and this is not a lightweight either. And this SUV, electric SUV, weighs 5,300 pounds. That's a lot of weight for just a 5-seater mid-size, you know, SUV. But look, the bottom line is that range is decent. 439 kilometers. That's for the touring, and it's like 452 when you have one of the other two trims. That has to do with the wheel size and a few extra pounds that this tacks on to the weight of the vehicle. As far as the GM equivalents are concerned, with the 85 kilowatt hour battery, the range is about 15 or 20 kilometers more. It's not a huge difference. So what am I trying to say? It's a decent EV. It's nothing more than that. And it's also capable 150 kilowatt charging speed. So on a level 3, you're doing just fine. You know, out on the road, you need 20 minutes for a top up. And it's plenty of time for a coffee and a pit stop, so on and so forth. The ride quality is really, really nice. And that's despite the 20-inch wheels. The only annoying part of the drive is, I don't know if you can hear that, but I made the exact same remark for the Blazer. It's at under 39 kilometers an hour, which is kind of a strange number. At least what I can see when I'm looking at the heads-up display. It just went off at 39. Anyway, there's an electric vehicle sound, which is omnipresent. I don't know, the tune, the vibration, the harmony, I don't know what it is, but it really pierces everything, and it's so incredibly unnecessary. I mean, maybe for the outside fine, but not on the inside. It's not as loud as it was in the Blazer overall, but remains an annoyance. But what was I saying? Yeah, the ride quality is really nice. The power is plenty decent, and yes, the regen braking paddle is just a switch on and off. So you really have to be good at judging distances when you're coming to a full stop. You do have an auto hold, or you can auto hold with the paddle itself. I don't know. I really like it because it's not groundbreaking. It's not, you know, it's not a. It doesn't reinvent the EV. It just gives you what you need. And the real issue is that they're still so freaking expensive. This at $70,000 is lacking so much. If it was $15,000 less, I'd be very inclined to say that this is one of the better ones. At least bang for your buck and styling and all that. But in this segment, no matter which EV, and I've said this before, I've written it, and I've told friends, you lease. And in this case, you absolutely lease, because in 4 years from now, the strong likelihood that all the new EVs from Honda are going to be introduced, and this one will be discontinued, and it will lose a considerable amount of value. But bottom line, again, this thing is really nice.